Welcome back. The Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, will in the next couple of minutes or hour or so announce the members of his Executive Council. He was elected yesterday during a special sitting of the legislature in Johannesburg. Let's get the view now, or at least expectations, of ActionSA. We're joined by the party's Gauteng provincial chairperson, Bongani Baloyi. Bongani, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming in. So how high are your expectations for this list of MECs, this team of MECs today?
Well, firstly, let's congratulate the last ANC Premier in Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi.
Well, David Makura.
No, the last Premier of Gauteng will be Panyaza Lesufi.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
Your excuse, don't
I'm
do it
having
again.
a slow day. Go on.
So I want to congratulate him. He'll be the last ANC Premier in Gauteng with the majority. We believe that a different matter will exist come 2024. With a very fluid political spectrum and people actually exercising their democracy, as we have seen in the amount of support that we've been getting. So we believe we'll be one of those who, you will be sitting like this in 2024 and saying, what is Premier X from ActionSA going to do and who is he going to appoint?
But is that not a tad ambitious, Bongani, considering that you've not even won a municipality outright, or one of the metros at least, in Gauteng outright? So winning a province, even with the ANC's problems, would still be quite a steep climb based on your election performance in 2021.
Well, based on the election performance in 2021, it's very clear that we're able to get on average about 20%. So which new party that's under 2 years old was able to get 20%? So it's a clear indication of our potential, where we are going, and the mere fact that in Johannesburg we're the third biggest party. We've relegated EFF to number 4. So our performance in the most recent election is an indication of where we are going. And it's quite clear that the ANC will not have majority. There'll be a different setup when it comes to a provincial government.
But you're also not the first party in South African elections to do well in its first election and then see a decline in electoral support. So how will you maintain that momentum, especially given your involvement in the unfolding drama, if you will, in Tshwane and Johannesburg at that level of government?
Yeah. Well, firstly, something you may not be aware of. ActionSA in Gauteng is sitting with over 100,000 members, active members. And certainly we are growing our structures, we are building our structures and branches on a regular basis to strengthen our structures to be able to function as a core unit of campaigning. And we're well aware of potential threats that could be put in intentionally by other parties to stunt our progress, and we're careful in that regard. That's why we've removed the issue of internal elections before elections that are coming now, so we can stabilize the party, focus on building our structures, focus on getting the policies right, which is a process that we'll be embarking on early next year. So we believe that foundation and stability creates an environment for us to be able to sustain and defend our gains, but actually grow as well. So
now that you've got the ActionSA elections pitch for 2024 out of the way, let's talk about the people who are in government today.
Absolutely.
Panyaza Lesufi is due imminently, not clear what the delay is at this point, going to announce that list of MECs. He was formerly at education. That's a clear vacancy that now needs to be filled. And in speaking yesterday, he says, yes, a tough road lies ahead, but he's positive that the people he's going to assemble will be able to assist the ANC in retaining control of Gauteng. What will you be looking for?
Look, I can tell you as a matter of fact that he won't be able to do so. The balance that he was trying to speak to yesterday, which he was alluding to the fact that it's about merit and competence, won't be about that. It will be about from which faction. So they must balance the two factions, from the TK faction and the Panyaza faction. So obviously there are people who are immediately at risk, so there will not be a pack style for obvious reasons. And there won't be probably, and Lewang Maile will see whether he retains the position where he's in, or do they demote him to something like agriculture and sports of that nature. But I really think there's an opportunity for them to blend in young people, for a province such as Gauteng, young people who are competent, who are able. I'm not too sure what they have on their benches, but equally remove dead wood like for MEC Mama Bollo for transport, who's been really ineffective, really. And I think they have to put a spotlight on issues of performance in the primary healthcare, because it's in a disaster at this stage, but equally issues of infrastructure of Gauteng, which falls under MEC Mutare's responsibility, is a big question mark as well, because if you look at the Charlotte Maxego Hospital, which falls under her, not the user department, and various other capital infrastructure. So I would say we need to have a sharp focus on economic development, on cooperative governance, on transport and infrastructure and primary health care, but equally education. education since Premier Panyaza has now vacated education, and we'll see who would fill that vacancy.
And he said yesterday when he spoke after his election in the legislature that he's going to focus on the Gauteng economy, making sure that it not only is saved but goes on to flourish, right? Do even better. He says he'll prioritize housing, provision of water and sanitation, and fight crime. And he says on corruption, there'll be no holy cows, and they'll go all the way in pursuing those who are found to be responsible for the levels of corruption in the provincial government in Gauteng. Are you convinced?
I've heard that song before. It must have been a very popular song that closed December last year on the 31st. We keep hearing the song, we'll fight corruption, but do we see anything come to fruition? I don't think so. So look at his performance in Department of Education, a number of fruitless, wasteful and irregular expenditure over the years amounting to billions. Have we seen anything come out there from a concrete consequence management? I don't think so. So I think it's a lot to say, but not effective. They won't effect it. And they only have one full financial year. They've got the current financial year that they're seeing out. So Premier Panyaza Lesufi will have one financial year and will leave as the second financial year starts. So all he is talking about, it's not realistic. You can't make such substantive changes in a short period of time to deal with the root causes of misgovernance, of corruption in Gauteng. We'll see. Maybe they've grown a pair of teeth. Maybe they'll show us a pair of teeth, and maybe they... In fact, what might spur them into action is their fear of losing Gauteng. But actually, that's a far-gone conclusion. Now, I say,
but politics, as you know, is also, I mean, you, the politicians, don't like to admit this, but a large part of it is also a popularity contest. And this is also a very popular politician, whether right or wrong. Yeah. He does have that working for him, which you could argue is something that David Makura did not have going for him, especially in the last couple of years. How will you go against the Lesufi PR machine? Because it has proven itself to be quite strong.
Yeah, I mean, people are very gullible, but South Africans are starting to wake up. You must evaluate the substance of the matter, not the PR only. And his performance over a period of time, there's a record of that, which points towards specific challenges or shortcomings from his department. And I really think South Africans are beyond who they like, who can sing better, who's more popular, who responds to a crisis. So if you characterize Premier Panyaza's tenure as MEC for Education, it's been about crisis management, really, responding to. And those things he's responding to are things that fundamentally, as leader of that department, you are supposed to prevent. So people must have this true sense of evaluation of performance. It's something that does not scare us. We are quite clear what we stand for, what we want to achieve as a party, and where we need to go for our party to be able to achieve that. So it doesn't scare us at all.
How much do you think the announcement today and this Lesufi administration will influence what happens at municipal level, based on, again, what we've seen happen in Tshwane, the drama simmering in Ekurhuleni, as well as the recent dramatic developments in Johannesburg? Because when he spoke to us yesterday, he said, you know, the ANC is committed to doing things differently from the DA, which has lost its handle on Johannesburg, and they're willing to work with you guys, the smaller parties, in a more respectful way and make sure that your contributions are valued and what you ask for is perhaps granted.
Yeah. No. Look, the announcements today will not change the price of bread. It won't change the fact that some metros are unable to pay their bulk accounts from Eskom and Rand Water. It will not change potholes. So it's really aesthetic, right? So everybody coming in will not have that fundamental change. That you need that fundamental change at a local government level, but the only way to deliver such an outcome is when there's stability. So what I appreciate from what he's saying is the intention to create a stable platform and engage with other people to find stability in local government.
Will you work with him?
Well,
in any way?
Senate took a resolution a few days ago announcing that firstly we're going to re-evaluate all of our coalition and we're going to be meeting with all Gauteng parties, including the ANC. So there's a conversation that is pending in the early week where we're going to talk about stability of metros and potentially how we can arrive there.
It's quite a change, though, because if you're even willing to speak to the ANC, I recall a time when ActionSA had sworn off the ANC saying, well, we'll talk to anyone but the ANC. Are you walking that back now? Are you realizing that it perhaps wasn't the right way to go?
We're not walking it back. At that point, we were validated by that approach.
So what's changed?
At this point here now, with the experience we have with Johannesburg and having a coalition composed of 17, 10 parties, 6 parties, and one party which can literally move from one to the next and create havoc and instability, that has said to us, if we are pursuing an ActionSA interest alone, we can hold this position. But if we are asking the question, what is in the interest of South Africans, the answer is very different. The answer says, let's speak to everybody. Let's try and find consensus and arrive at a stability. Never mind, you know very well how we feel about them. We have not changed how we feel.
But this is my point, that if your analysis of what the ANC is and who its leaders are, that they've not changed, the organization hasn't changed. Yes, you've had a fallout now with the DA, but why would you do business, shall we say, with people who exactly a year ago you were saying are a dreadful bunch of leaders and you'd never, ever cooperate with them?
Well, we've been in a coalition without those individuals and party, and that has been unstable. And that's a matter of fact. That's reality that we're facing today. And the mere fact that we can sustain coalitions in an unstable environment where a small party can just move from one point to the next point and create havoc and affect the stability of governance in these metros, when we applied our mind and reflected, we saw that this is not something that we want to become a hallmark of our participation in democracy and also coalitions.
But
we want... No, but hear me out. We realize the reality we're facing at this stage, and we actually said, let's go and talk to people to try and find stability in these metros. They have not changed, these people that we are talking to, but there's an appreciation that now it's about stability. How do you arrive at stability? We're with the DA-led coalition to refine stability there. Look where we are now 10 months later.
But your voters also haven't changed, and many of them will have voted for you because in campaigning you said ActionSA would never collaborate with the ANC, and those people would have very legitimate reason if you were to work with the ANC. I know you're saying now in a statement yesterday that you're going to review your approach to coalitions, but those people would feel rather betrayed that I voted for you because you said, like, if I were a voter, not my feeling, if I'd voted for ActionSA because I didn't want the ANC in government, you saying, well, we didn't want them in November, but now we're willing to work with them because, well, the grass on the DA side is not so green anymore. Do you agree that that person would have every right to feel as though they've been betrayed?
Not betrayed.
I think
they've got every right to be concerned. But equally, in fact, many of those voters have said to us, stability is important for us. We want to be able to ensure that there's a supply of water, sanitation, and electricity. And that environment requires stability and political maturity. So you may not be aware, but there's been a lot of voices from our voters who are saying, think about this thing carefully and find stability. So we did not arrive after waking up one morning to say, now what do we do? It has been a process to get where we are. And that's why we are disclosing it publicly to say we are reviewing, part of reviewing the existing, but also speaking to everybody. So next week we're also embarking on a public campaign to speak to our supporters, our voters, to get their inputs on this process, because it's an important process that we are embarking on. And it's important for a party to be transparent.
And if in that process the people say no, what happens?
We must not preempt. You're not a sangoma.
It's a possibility.
You're not a sangoma.
It's a possibility.
You are not a sangoma. You want drama.
I'm not predicting an outcome.
You are not a
but
sangoma.
I'm saying, should it happen, because it can, if it's a yes or no, you can get either answer. So what do you do in that eventuality?
No, you want to preempt. You want drama. We're embarking on a process. We're not going to prejudice the process. We're going to follow through the process and engage substantively and honestly and robustly with everybody who's got an interest in the matter. That's where we are going.
Make sure I wear my beads next time. Bongani Baloyi, thank you so much for speaking to us.